Hello, babe. Welcome to episode 78 of the Late Challenge podcast with him, Gareth Roberts, and me, Paul Cope. For the first time in all the years Robbo and I have been mates, I've just called him babe before we started recording. So we just said it was a matter of time, wasn't it? But the bit anything will happen at some point.
Yeah.
Are you watching this, babe? What do you want to watch on Netflix tonight, babe?
One day we'll look back at this episode and say that's where it all started to happen.
Yeah, but with our partners being like, I did worry from that point. That's a good start, isn't it? This week we're going to be having a chat about the start of Arne Slot's Liverpool, a TLC fantasy football league, another mental health moment, sneaking treats in your own house, mad things kids say, and some middle-aged moans. And some other stuff. You know the score by now. We probably won't get through all of that. I actually messaged Robbo with me agenda today saying I'm having one of those not sure we've got enough to talk about anxiety moments doing this agenda, and then just calming myself with that's never happened in the history of this show. So you never know. There's always a first time. Maybe we'll run out of things to say.
They actually asked me in my office, like, when I was leaving, then they were like, what are you talking about today? And I said, well, I only had the agendas earlier off Kobe. I said, but he's put there that he's worried that we won't fill it. And I said, I think he underestimates that I am world class at talking shite. And they all just looked at me like, just nodding.
Yeah.
I know one went,
that.
oh no.
I know. I love it when that happens in life. When you say something like that out loud and everyone's like, yeah, you are.
Yeah, it's true that.
Not one person goes, what you mean? What you mean, Gareth? I think you're very sensible and succinct in the stuff you talk about. No, yeah, everyone knows us by now. So we'll start off with some footy, shall we? I feel like it's ages since we've talked about Liverpool. So we're going to talk about Liverpool, even though neither of us watched the game. First preseason game, we won, I think. I saw the goal. Did you watch it? Did you watch the game?
No.
What's your approach to preseason?
I mean, I would have watched it if it was at a time when I wasn't tired. No, I was doing a lot of family stuff sort of over the weekend, and it was at 12, wasn't it? At I think midnight.
Midnight was it?
Yeah. So
I could never. We've never had this conversation, have we? Whenever I'm doing anything across time zones, arranging calls or stuff like that, it's one of the things I'm always like I've got that. I think I've got that wrong right up until the time of a call and stuff. It's double checking times. So as soon as I saw that Joe obviously was in the States, I was like, I can't be bothered trying to figure out what time it's on.
No, I just, it wasn't like a conscious, can't be arsed or anything like that. It was more just I was busy and doing stuff, and then I knew it was happening, and you just also knew it wasn't practical to actually watch it. And then so I had it at the back of my mind, like sometime over the weekend I'll catch up, I'll watch it, I'll watch the full match or whatever, but I just never did. I watched some highlights of it, I've seen the goal, I've seen all the, I've seen the press conference, I've seen the fallout, I've seen what got discussed, I've heard that, and seen a compilation clip, etc., of Endo not being very good, and people now thinking we should sell him and all of that kind of stuff. But no, I didn't actually sit down and watch it. Like if it had been on, and if it had been at a time when I wasn't in the middle of doing stuff, I probably would have watched it. But in general, I was thinking about this driving up. I think I'm old enough and ugly enough now to have seen enough pre-seasons to know that they don't really count for all that much, do they? And, while it's being marketed within an inch of its life to get it around America and all the rest of it, like, it just doesn't mean. And I can remember times Liverpool had awful pre-seasons and then, went on to be fantastic, vice versa. And they're just training sessions, aren't they? And, everyone's not even back. We haven't signed anyone yet, so there's not even that thing of, we'll tune in, see what he looks like in a red kit and see how he performs and start making judgments. There was none of that, was there, for me, anyway? There was no, like, real massive, exciting reason to make sure that I definitely watch it no matter what. So, no, short answer, didn't bother. Long answer, I just delivered it, didn't I? But goal was good.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was nice.
Do you know what I thought was the most interesting thing about it? Because we'll have a little chat about him as well. I like him, I've decided. I like the way, because he didn't have a number 9, he didn't have a striker in his squad, he just didn't play one. And he was like, he was basically like, there's no point. He's basically agreeing with what you're saying. Like, this isn't about winning a game of footy. There's no point me playing a player up front who doesn't play up front, because the purpose of this game for each of those players is to get them used to my style of play in the new system. So I'm going to play Szoboszlai and Harvey Elliott both as number 10s, because they'll both be playing. They can both play that position for me. So there's no point playing someone out of position. They'll all play in their actual positions. And if I haven't got someone for one of the positions, I'll just leave that position empty. I really like that. And the interesting thing was, when you think about it, he didn't put Salah there. So it gives you answers straight away, doesn't it, about what he's doing.
You'd think, but then equally, he might blow it all out the water in the next game, mightn't he, and do something else different. I mean, it's early for him, isn't it? It's early for, he's still getting to know the squad. Like I said before, everyone's not even reported back as far as I know. So, yeah, and, there are things going on now. You would imagine now that, all the Euros, etc. is finished, that things will ramp up in terms of transfers will start happening and all the rest of it. But yeah, I just don't think there's much to be reading into the first pre-season game under a new manager on the other side of the world, etc., etc., etc. I just don't. And so, like I say, I probably would have watched it if it was there in front of me, ready to go when I had the time. But as it was, I didn't feel like I'm making a big sacrifice to watch it. And look, I guess there's a part as well. Not sure how good it is for this show. But I was thinking about this before, about like, there's a thing now that this, our podcast, this show, The Late Challenge, is as marketed a bit of everything, isn't it? And that we've got to where we've got with it being a bit of everything. And I just quite like having a bit of summer. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm still clinging on with me love of footy, and I want to keep the bits that we've got that are still good and bat away the capitalists who are trying to change it into something else. But equally, I think it's like good for the soul to just have like a little break, basically, and like, do some family stuff. The weather was good finally over the weekend and stuff like that. Another big long walk under my belt. Saw all the family, did some family things. So ultimately, that's more important, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's funny, isn't it? Because that's like on brand for like what we talk about on this stuff, isn't it? Like, it's all right. It's all right to be a Liverpool fan and not watch every minute of every pre-season game and be obsessed about it. And equally, it's okay to be obsessed with it if you want to be. There's
an interesting comment here. Just wondered what you thought of this, mate, because obviously you've put together the agenda and had a rough idea of what we would and wouldn't be talking about. Get you on your toes, lad. Adam Riley has put, I don't know about everyone else, but since Klopp's gone, I don't feel a part of the club anymore, and I can't seem to get up for it. I mean, that's quite extreme.
Yeah, but it's funny, isn't it? Because before we start recording, we give words to the lads here to put on like the thumbnail on YouTube and the title and all that. And I put on the thumbnail purposefully, "Glad Klopp's gone?" ? Because linking to the Curtis Jones comments that we'll talk about. Because this is the bit, isn't it, where, and we did talk about this at the end of the season, you can talk about someone going, this is a bit mad, but isn't it? But like, Stunt's one about this last week, about, without getting too more, about people passing away. Like, you can have the bit about, they're going, it'll be sad and all that. But actually, it's not until they've gone and then you're getting used to it, getting used to the new world without them, that you have any idea what it's actually going to feel like. Because it is potentially completely different, isn't it? Like, I mean, we can tie it into the Curtis Jones comments. And it was interesting, what Curtis Jones said in his interview. So for anyone who didn't hear it or hasn't seen it, I'm sure lots of you are. He was pretty positive about Arne Slot. Well, pretty positive. He was very positive, wasn't he? And basically said, in no uncertain terms, it's the happiest he's been as a Liverpool player, which is mad considering the new management's only been there 3 weeks. But he said lots of interesting stuff, and he was open in saying he feels in the past it was a bit too direct, the footy, the style, they were always in a bit of a rush. But under this system, it looks like they're going to be calm on the ball, not in a rush to attack. Slot wants them to have the ball and completely kill teams. There was something came out today with the open training sessions that Slot could be heard to shout to the players, kill them with passes. Mm-hmm. And we were exchanging messages about it, weren't we? And you said sounds a bit like the Brendan Rodgers sterile domination thing. And I said, and it's interesting if you look back to what his description of his footy before we got him, it feels like a step towards Guardiola, doesn't it? Like that style of play. But that in itself is interesting, because I joked at the end of the season that, well, I'm all right with that, because we could probably do with just a bit of sterile footy for a while.
Well, also, we knew that we were just not going to get like exactly the same again, because we said on air, loads of people said the same. You know, there was no like sort of Klopp Mark II. So anyone that you're going to get in is going to stamp, you know, their mark onto it and do something slightly different. Sorry for the excessive fanning with my bag, by the way, but this is a bad middle-aged shout, but my eyes are definitely going worse, and I've already got glasses. I just don't always wear them, and I fucking need them. Like I've noticed at the start that I now need to wear them to read screens and all that. I don't know what I've done with them, which is also a middle-aged thing, innit? But yeah, it was always going to change, wasn't it? It was always going to be slightly different. You know, he'll have different ideas about systems, patterns of play, players that he likes, players that he doesn't like. And I saw what I hated about the Curtis stuff was how it was spun in, you know, by the likes of the Mail and dickhead papers like that. Spun into like a problem, spun into like an issue, spun into like, I'm glad Klopp's gone or whatever. And it's like, we know he didn't mean that. And anyone that's like, you know, followed Liverpool, listened to Curtis, you know, watched him play, will know, A, that like the football that's being discussed here will likely suit him. And B, that like he's a bit of a thinker, he's a good talker, he's someone who does think about the game, and he's also someone who, at times, had little head-to-heads with Klopp, didn't he?
Yeah.
If you look back, you know, there was one where Klopp had a go at him, and he sort of like on the pitch, and he was going, "No, I did that because of this." Do you know what I mean? And like he went back at him, didn't he? So, and this is the thing. Look, this isn't to do down Klopp, because quite clearly I loved him and I loved everything that we did under him. But, you know, it's unrealistic to say everyone absolutely loved him to bits at the club and everyone was banging into everything he did. There will be some people, you know, you heard Trent say it, didn't you, in an interview where he said, like, I'm interested to see what the next fella does.
Yeah.
And, like, there's an element of, in any profession, in anything that you go out there and do, of staleness developing, staleness of message. So I think just purely on the basis of a new man coming in, new coaches coming in, different messages, different patterns of play, even things like I've found it interesting. And I don't, you know, there's a danger, especially in pre-season, first game of pre-season and all the rest of it, there's a danger of like reading too much into things, as we've already said. But there seems to be an emphasis on clips I've seen shared, stuff that people have written. There's like a physicality thing going on. So have you seen that clip of like the training where they're like the coach is like holding like a
big pad for them? Yeah.
And like Salah nearly like takes him out.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, this idea that perhaps they're working on them being a bit more resilient, which again sort of works around the idea of, well, holding the ball a bit more then. Because like if you're just like, you know, you're cooler, you're calmer, you're confident that we can keep the ball, one of the things you're going to face from some of your opponents in the Premier League is they'll try and knock you off it. They'll try and be physical with you. They'll try and, you know, test that side of your metal, if you like. So maybe that, again, that's part of it. I mean, you know, I'm excited once it gets going to see what it's like. You know, I'm looking forward to the actual football. I'm just not that asked about now. And, you know, I'm happy to, you know, the people who do cover it as a living and all the rest of it, I'm happy to take that in, you know, see what gets said, listen to the press conferences. And look, you know, like I say, if one of the friendlies falls into a slot where I can do it, I'll do it. But yeah, I just think it's so early. But, you know, the nature of where we are now, media-wise, around football, of course, there's like huge pieces being written. There's podcasts, there's videos, there's, you know, tactical analysis of a friendly. It's all a bit mad, though, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it has, and that's the nature of the beast, isn't it? And we don't go into that stuff mainly on here. But the thing I was going to say before is give the Anfield Wrap a couple of shouts out today. But I remember Sean Rogers always used to say, when I used to do the review with him years ago, and it was a really great point, and I mentioned this. I use this, say this to people doing business, because the same point applies. Do you know, like when a big player is leaving a club and everyone's devastated? He always made that point. He was like, just as heads up, not everyone's devastated.
Yeah.
And he's like, what do you mean? It's like, there's people in that dressing room made up because now they've got a chance. They can step into that position, and that was the vibe I got from Curtis Jones a lot. Like he made a point, didn't he, of sort of saying, and it to me it came across a bit chip on shoulder of, you know, basically when you come in, he's already got his favourites type thing, and you're trying to get them out. Whereas when a new manager comes in, you're all starting from scratch again, which is true of everyone, and everyone knows that. But it was interesting that another shout out for the Wrap, that you sent me an article that Josh Williams has done, that we know from the Wrap, who's got his own Substack, Distance Covered, which is worth checking out if you liked sort of the detailed analysis. But he referenced all this and referenced Klopp's football being practical, direct and lively. Why play through midfield when you can completely bypass it? And he talked about how the change from the likes of Firmino and Henderson and Mane to having Szoboszlai, Nunes, McAllister, who are like especially offensive. And he said you wouldn't be surprised to find out that we averaged the most shots in Europe last season, in a league of our own, with 20.6 per match, followed by Bayern Munich in second on 18.6. And in that statistic, I don't know this, and it's always interesting, this, isn't it? Like, whenever you're talking about stats, I found this out years ago, you've got to have a barometer to measure against, otherwise you just, what's the point? But he said 2 whole shots separating first and second in that statistic is wild. So basically what that meant was, he described us last year as a capable but slightly unhinged attacking unit. And that was backed up by what we all saw with our own eyes, isn't it? Like, it looked, even Nunes sort of summed it up. Like, just twat it.
Yeah,
it wasn't the controlled, like when you take it back to like the City type of play, and what we've referenced in the past, what Pep Linder's saying, you're trying to create a chance that's 8, 9, 10 out of 10 in quality. We felt like we'd stopped doing that a little bit in exchange for bombard. And this article went on to say, like, you know, the idea of playing in this manner is better for the control of the game, which is better for defensive stability, which is, I think, something else that I forgot to mention earlier. It was interesting that Arne Slot said after the game, was he specifically, I saw him in 2 interviews, and he specifically referenced the fact we only conceded 1 big chance, which was right at the end. And I think that's interesting. That's clearly a big thing on his mind.
Well, we were saying that. I mean, everyone was saying that over and over last season. We were too easy to get through.
Yeah.
You know, you should be beating this side, but equally, you know, they'll be given a chance because we're so open at the back.
But it's funny, isn't it? Because as much as we loved them, and going back to the comment that you read out before, as much as we loved them, that clearly wasn't one of Klopp's priorities, was it? Like, I mean, he was more. I know he wasn't quite up that end, but if you had a scale, you know, from Kevin Keegan to Roy Hodgson, he was more up the Kevin Keegan end of the scale of we'll just score more than yous. And don't get me wrong, he's a great coach, and he won the league, and he's won the Champions League. So everyone's always trying to find that balance. But he always tilted, or not always, but he tended to tilt more the other way. And it was funny because, you know, for the people we like to give shout outs to, Andrew Beasley, Bass Tunes Red on Twitter, had commented on Josh Williams' article with a stat which was interesting, which he said frames the issue quite neatly, and it's ground duels, which accounts for dribbles, fouls and tackles. Liverpool contested 2,746 last season, around 84th percentile for volume by Premier League standards, high but not too high. However, they only won 41.7% of them. If you look for a team that contested at least as many while winning such a low proportion, you find Bielsa's Leeds twice and Andoni's Bournemouth. And Liverpool's 3 lowest ground duels since 11-12 were 21-22, 2018-19 and 19-20, the 3 seasons in which we broke 90 points. And that's interesting, isn't it? Because we've talked about that. You can reference Klopp's teams, and the one that was the least Klopp-like, because it was dominant and controlling, was the one that won the league. it wasn't this like conceding chances type team, was it?
Well, that's it as well. You know, again, stuff we talked about before, but you know, like you looked at the Dortmund team, what people said about the Dortmund team, what people in the Dortmund team said, and it was like that they got a bit burnt out by, you know, the level of intensity of what they're being asked to do. So, you know, I wonder whether that's going to be in Slot's thinking as well. Like, you know, the sort of rest them with the ball type idea rather than this constant like fight where it's so intense that you get to the end of the season, you're goosed. Obviously, we did win cups because of that. We did win the league, all the rest of it. But, you know, you look at the season where we were all sort of getting excited about a potential quadruple. And then it didn't turn out how we wanted, obviously. And one of the reasons was they looked goose, didn't they? You know what I mean? Like, as a squad, they were out of gas. So I'm sure that's in the thinking as well of Slot. And, you know, we're in the Champions League. There's more games. It'd be interesting to see how he manages across competitions as well. Because that was a criticism from some, wasn't it, of Klopp at times that, you know, he took them all too seriously. He's like, we're going to win the lot every season. Whereas we all know, if we cut to the chase and we're being honest, that, you know, in the League Cup, etc., whatever, even the FA Cup, plenty of other managers go, oh yeah, I love it, and I want to win it, blah blah blah, and then the side they put out says fucking otherwise. Like, so yeah, it's interesting to see how all that is managed as well, and I'm sure potentially it's different to what Klopp did. Just a shout out for David O'Sullivan, who on the super thanks, probably that, has put 10 quid in. And he said, 10 quid for the hurling last week, boys, up the Reds. We went viral, nice, didn't we, lad?
Yeah.
We went viral talking about hurling.
Talking about hurling, yeah.
How's that happened?
And as always, I was thinking, Joe, the week I might start, now that someone replied to me in the week saying, fucking hell, Cope is actually tweeting something, because I've started, as you mentioned, tweeted on me with the stuff. And I might start just replying to people's comments, just rating their comments. Because it just makes me laugh, like the stuff you get. Because whenever we mentioned this last week or the week before, I think that if something goes viral, which the hurling clip did, basically like loads of views, because loads of people who don't watch it see it, it just brings out all of the weirdos saying mad stuff.
Yeah, and people who definitely don't get us or what we're doing, like, you know, oh, they're experts on marketing hurling, aren't they?
Yeah.
Where did we say that?
Yeah,
we literally said we don't watch this.
Like that was we were making a serious point that if we were running it like hurling, that's what we'd use. That description.
It's just, that's the internet.
Yeah, which we love. But yeah, thanks, mate. That's very generous of you. But yeah, look, there isn't much left to talk about on the game itself. I am intrigued to see, because whilst I am happy to have a bit of, you know, quiet footy for a bit, I'm interested to see how it goes down in the ground, because Josh mentioned in his article that there's a reason we loved Klopp, Gary Neville loved Klopp and would have had him for United's manager, and now they did a thing last week, England fans want Klopp for England's manager. And it's because his type of footy is the type of footy English fans like. It's fast. It's exciting.
Yeah.
And this other type of footy is more likely to win, probably.
Well, to be fair,
but is it as exciting to watch?
They said, though, didn't they, that the recruitment of Slot was around the idea of it still being entertaining. And look, you know, we're saying all this. The goal at the goal the other day was good.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, I like to look at that.
Yeah.
You know, Szoboszlai bursting from deep and getting on the end of that and putting it away. Some of that this season would be great. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Like I say, you obviously can't read into it, but the first goal scored under Slot was that, and it was good. So sound. I'll take that. Do you know what I mean? And we'll see. But you know, it's just really hard to make judgments at this stage, isn't it, of exactly what we're going to see. It's like, you know, you've got on there, I think, somewhere about, you know, are you concerned about, you know, the transfer situation? There's lots of sort of content around about that, isn't there? Like it just all feels like a cycle to me. Do you know what I mean? It's like I've been involved in it so much that it's like, oh yeah, oh, let's press the button regarding, oh, are we concerned about transfers? Well, we're not playing a game yet, are we? So, you know, there's plenty of time for transfers to get done. And realistically, the stuff we've said before about it's great when they're all in place and they're all done and they're on this tour now and they're training with them and they're getting to know everyone. But we all said Klopp leaving when it wasn't the plan and leaving when it's summer when there's 2 major tournaments taking place and then a new man coming in, none of that's ideal. It's just not, is it? So, you know, the idea that there was going to be like 6 fellas sitting there with Liverpool scarves, like, wasn't going to happen, was it? Like, for me anyway. So I'm not concerned. I think they will sign players, you know, and I think it's quite obvious where they need to do that. To me, at least as layman, as man who goes the match, they do need a defensive midfielder. Endo, to me, was always like stopgap and then improved beyond stopgap. But to ask a fella of his age, his standing, etc., to continually perform at a certain level, going back to what we were just saying about burning people out, probably unlikely, isn't it? And, you know, what I saw about everyone's reaction, including people that have, you know, I respect their opinion, it was very bad.
I didn't see this, so go on. You mentioned it before.
It was just like very giving it away.
He just had
a terrible game, to the point where I saw people saying things like, you know, if that's like the last time we see him, so be it, type of thing, which seemed a bit harsh.
Considering how much everyone was raving off him last year.
I mean, what I would do in an ideal world, and I'm not in charge and don't have any influence whatsoever, but I'd keep him. Give him. He's on a contract. Like the money that's being floated around in terms of clubs who are interested in the grand scheme isn't that much, is it? So I'd have him around, based on the fact that we're going to have an intense schedule like we always do, and hopefully if we do buy someone in midfield that's ahead of him and is better than him, when that person can be, you know, needs a little rest in a game that's not so important, put end up in.
And well, it's not. We've talked about this in the past, haven't we? It's not just everyone gets obsessed with the first 11 playing the game. It's not just that. He's like a very experienced captain at international level, which off the pitch is a thing. Like maintaining standards, by all accounts, he's a very professional lad, isn't he? He's very driven. He's very fit. Those things help to drive standards in training behind the scenes, which is good. And it's funny because obviously he's been linked with this move today. And whenever I see things like, I know obviously, as you just said, you know, we're not in charge of the books and all that. And I'm sure if they go out and buy a £100 million centre midfielder, we won't be crying if Endo gets sold. But for the sake of 15 million quid, which is what he's getting linked around, you wouldn't be arsed, would you?
Even
really?
Less I saw as well. I'm sure there was one story and it was talking about like 8 and 9 and things like that.
It might have been 50 million euros I saw, which...
But either way, it's not like, it's not, you know, it's not transforming anything for Liverpool, that is it? Let's be honest.
But it's interesting that, isn't it? Because it was funny because obviously at the end of last season I was like, we definitely need some players. And I just wondered, it was funny hearing Slot say, like, because he got asked in a press conference, is the reason you haven't signed anyone because you're still assessing the squad or because you haven't found anyone you want yet? And he actually answered it properly. He said a bit of both. Because at the end of the day, it's, you know, when you're buying players, and Klopp's always said this, hasn't he? We always act, me included sometimes, like it's easy to just go out and buy a player that's better than the players you've got. But it's not. Like, we've got a good squad. And he said himself, you know, because they were like, well, if this current squad you've got good enough to challenge. And he basically said it did challenge.
Yeah.
Last year it did challenge. So for all we know, he's come in and looked at the squad and gone, yeah, with my style of play, this is enough. Because I was thinking about it. I know you asked me this question at the end of last season. Like, if we entered the season with Quansah as one of our centre-backs, are we happy? And I was thinking, well, if your 4 centre-backs are Van Dijk, Canate, Gomez and Quansah, because I think the noises are Gomez will be played as a centre-back, but again, who knows? But if you got Gomez back to his best, and they're your 4 centre-backs, you're not getting, like in world football, you're not getting a much better 4 centre-back selection than that, are you?
Everyone seems to have written, a lot of people seem to have written Canate off now.
Yeah, I've seen that, yeah.
And then there's...
Which is mad as well, isn't it? But it's like when everyone wrote Gomez off. But it felt like Klopp sort of wrote Gomez off as a centre-back as well. So that's another one where all of a sudden, fresh starts and all that. If they are 4 centre backs and he gets the best out of them, you've got Conor Bradley came through as right back, who also is great. We don't know what's going to happen with Trent yet. But again, Tsimikas, there's always a question mark over him for me. But maybe it's 2 fullbacks we need, not a centre back.
But what we don't know as well, where we're like filling the void, if you like, here is like, he's privy to so much more information, isn't he? Obviously, in terms of like them actually being assessed for fitness and all that we know goes on. But also just, because he's a new man coming into the club with fresh eyes, we've all presumed forever that everyone's dead professional, they're all together, they all like each other, it's one big merry band, and they're all, flying the Liverpool flag. But behind the scenes and the stuff why would they float out to the wider world? What's it really like? And how has everyone individually reacted to a new manager being in there? I saw some people take umbrage with what Jones has said, including someone in the comments earlier, and saying like he knows what he's doing and all that kind of stuff. But to me, like, rightly or wrongly, I reckon he's trying to put himself in front of the manager and say, yeah, I'm this, look at where I am in my career. I've already done X, Y, and Z. I've played these games. I've won with England under 21s. I played for the senior England side. Like, I want to be considered now as one of your key men in midfield, and throw a microphone in front of me and look, I can speak as well. So maybe that's just his tactic personally, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to say this, I'm going to big up the manager, it might help me, rightly or wrongly. But what are other people's like? There might be, like, this is the bit where I feel like, sometimes, like, the reaction to some of the other stuff that we did has got in my head a little bit, because I'm like, we've got to just go on and be ultra positive every time we do a podcast and talk about Liverpool. I'm just not going to do that. I'm just going to say what I think, obviously. But are there people within the squad who are like, nah, he's this fella? You know what I mean?
It's bound to be, aren't there?
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Well, think about that, the lad who made the comment before, saying, now Klopp's gone, I've just fallen out of love a bit with it. Or he went stronger than that, didn't he? Well, would it be beyond the realms of possibility that one or more players in the squad has done that? And gone, no. Joe, the new fella's come in and he's gone, it's not Klopp though, is he? I might just fuck off here.
And look, one of the beauties of the whole thing, and like throughout my life, that's consistent. We talk about all the time, don't we, about media's changed, football's changed, this is shit, that's gone in a direction that I don't like and don't remember. One thing that's consistent, though, is that there have always been wild spectrums of opinions on football, and that's also like the beauty of it. That's why we all spend so much time talking about it, and you would always have someone with an extreme off to the left opinion somewhere along the way as well. So, one for the hard asses who watch, which is, mainly our audience. Len Griffiths, who used to write into the Echo all the time. Like, this is back in the day when we didn't have internet, and the way you saw other people's opinions was the letters page of the Echo. The equivalent
of a TikTok column comment was Len Griffiths writing to the Echo.
Writing to the Echo with negative comments. Yeah. Or Tommy Smith's letters page with the bounce ball over the top. What was the other one? There was 3 categories. Oh, to tell you, you know what? Coming from where to do funny? This?
Do you know if you went back in time now, and could go back into that time, wouldn't you be like, God, it was such a softer time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like, that was the equivalent. Like, Tommy Smith saying, you write into Tommy Smith in the Echo, and he gives you a bounce ball for your comment.
Over the top.
Yeah, or it's a bit over
Fair
the top.
Tackle was the other one.
Fair
tackle was the other one. Yeah.
That's what I'm, without realising it, that's the theory I'm stumbling across. That's what I might start doing on Twitter and TikTok. Just replying to people's comments with that type of...
Just quote Twitter?
Just reply, like
put
saying...
Fair tackle?
Yeah, but just saying like...
over the top.
Not unoriginal, like, must do better, 1 out of 10.
Well, you've got on here somewhere, I would say it's in your... typical Kofi agenda thing where you backload stuff at the back that one day you might talk about. But you've got what's her name on there, haven't you? That first page of James Blunt's book.
Yeah, I love that.
I don't know if you want to talk about it later or whatever, because if you do
now, if you want.
Well, I've got some stuff because I watched the documentary. Have you seen it? There's a
no,
he's
got a documentary.
It's on Netflix, yeah.
Oh, boss.
So I'm not into his tunes, but I like his Twitter game, yeah. So I watched it for that reason, basically.
He's one of my favourite categories of people, which is people who appear to be hyper posh and are like cuttingly funny.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think people who are hyper posh often get dismissed as knobheads.
Yeah.
But in my experience in life, often they're like this. I remember Billy Connolly doing a bit on this, like in his local pub. It was like the hyper posh rich people who got on really well with the working class people because they were both just sort of sound. It was the middle people who were the knobheads. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, obviously, I was about to say he come across sound, but then he's not going to, he's not going to like, you're not going to make a documentary where he comes across as knob.
Yeah.
But yeah, I found it interesting because as anyone who knows who's watched or listened to this for any period of time, I'm interested in the media. I always have been, always will be. And there's a lot of that in it, like about sort of why did it become acceptable that like it was the shittest song in the world and anybody who listened to James Blunt needs to have and he became like this just a joke figure. And he says that's why he started doing it. Like he just got sick of like, being written off as some kind of joke fella. When actually it's like turned out all these albums, he fills, arenas and whatever else. So what's this about? And like probably got in the show, he got stuck into like some certain journalists and stuff like that. But he just said like just reached the point where he thought, I'm just going to start going back to some of these blades on Twitter basically. And I think it's great. There's been so many, hasn't there, where you're like, that's a quality. And like they talk you through it on it. So like if you can tolerate his music, then it's a possible
well,
decent
while we're
thing
on it,
to watch.
I'm going to add that to stuff I want to watch then because I'll find that funny. So Robbo sent this to me a while ago, and I've just been parking it at the back end of my agendas. But this is a topic for the show. Do you call it preface or preface?
It's preface, isn't it?
I think so, but I think it's one of them where people would argue with you about it. But anyway, so Robbo sent me a screenshot of the preface of James Blunt book, and I'll just read it out because it's funny. Because it just starts with, I am a one-hit wonder. I know this because when I walk down the street, strangers call out, hey James, you're beautiful. I tried to act all blasé and say, ha, I know what you did there, but really I'm thinking cunts. It's worth realising though that when you shouted I don't believe it at Victor Meldrew or know what I mean Harry at Frank Bruno, they might have smiled back, but they thought you were cunts too. But whilst my crimes against music are well documented, I've got some stories that are not, and so I thought I'd write them down for your amusement and at my parents' horror. That's the funniest bit, the cunts bit. So yeah, that might be my my venture back into social media, just to do that to people. I think that'd be quite entertaining. I think that would entertain me just for 20 minutes a day.
Yeah, do it. Like
because I can imagine. Can you imagine how people would respond?
Maybe we like, just do it. Like
you're commenting on my comment. Like you commented. You commented on my.
Might do it with the TLC. I can just just start putting over the top fair tackle or bounce ball. Yeah,
do it.
Get on it.
I like it.
I found my bins. Get in. So I can actually see what I'm looking at now on my screen, which is nice. Someone just put in the comments, so that's what I was just doing. Someone, because we're talking about James Blunt, put in the comments on the live. Check out his tweet from July the 17th. So I'll just had a look, and the tweet is from someone called Mush. You're getting old when the apprentice at work has never heard of James Blunt. And James Blunt has quote tweeted it and put, fire the little cunt. That's fucking brilliant though,
That's great, that isn't it? That's just great.
Yeah, he's absolutely boss for that. And he, like genuinely, like I said, obviously like he's not going to make a thing where he comes across as a belair, but there were loads of, it's got all the army stuff in there and all that as well, but he comes across as sound, and like there's a bit about where it's like other people talking about him saying like you work with other artists and all that, and they're a bit big balls and they go in the dressing room and they don't say fuck all to like the roadies or the people shifting the equipment or the fellas driving the trucks or any of that. And he said he just sits off with them all, having food with them. He's like, there's no like separation. And he said, like, maybe it's like an army thing that's why he's like that. But whether it's an army thing or not, I just watched it and thought, just seems a decent bloke.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's worth a watch, that, like I say.
Yeah, definitely. I'll tune into that. And no segue at all, but the next thing what I wanted to mention before we move on, back on the footy bit, was one of our top TLC subscribers, Mingle, messaged us in the week suggesting...
He's watching live now. He messaged before to say...
hello, mate.
He messaged before to say he'd missed the start because he was in the beer garden.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to say something else then. Well, hello, mate.
On the nest.
Yeah. Yeah. But he suggested, why don't we set up a fantasy football league for the season and get you all involved, and we can have a chat about it each week if we want or not. But it's something else in the background we can do and have a bit of a laugh with. And it did make me think of, I used to love, did you used to watch fantasy football with Frank Skinner and David Baddiel?
Yeah.
That's a middle-aged thing, isn't it? I loved that show. I went to see it live. Took my dad to see it live in London. Yeah,
was it good?
Yeah, really good, really good.
Did it have all, like, Stato and all that on it? Like, did they all come on?
Yeah.
Well, I always think this, I mean, like, I'm not comparing us to them because, like, they've done a bit better, like, than us. But, do you remember the other show that they had them to? And it was unplanned.
Oh, yeah.
And do you remember the theme tune? Like, it'll never work.
Oh, yeah.
It'll never work. And neither will we again. And sometimes, like, internal monologue, that plays in my head when we're doing this. Because I think it might never work. It might never go any further than, like, the level we're at now. And then I do sometimes think, the level of due diligence that I imagine some people now do in life around giving someone a job.
Yeah. Like,
imagine they went through like this and all the rap stuff, and all of it just sits there publicly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, Mr. Roberts, on the such and such. Did you once say of Evertonians? Etc.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I enjoyed the show. Like, funny enough, I was talking about that the other week with some of my mates, saying, like, there's definitely aspects of what they did then, which, haven't moved along with the rest of society when you watch it back. Like, do you know what I mean? You're like, yeah, you probably can't do that now, lads.
Yeah. But did you see the clip? I think did you share it with me? There was a clip of, and it was a sketch, and it was Stephen Merchant, and doing a piss take, and it cut back to the studio, and Ian Wright was just laughing his head off. And then he was just laughing at, because they used, what's his name? Wayne. I'm going to get myself in knots now because I don't know what the official. In fact, I do know because I've done some work with some lads. The official term you want to use now is little people, but in the past there was a debate about whether you should call them midgets or dwarves, and it's like, no, neither of them now. But anyway, the lad who works with Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant. What's his name? He was in like Star Wars and stuff, wasn't he?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
He'll come back to me anyway. But he did a sketch with Stephen Merchant, like pretending to be footballers, like with Ricky Gervais.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah, yeah.
Stephen Merchant's Crouch, and he's meant to be Rooney.
Yeah.
And like, so even that sketch in itself, in this day and age, would be borderline, I think. Like, even me talking about this, I still have like things inside, alarms inside me going off, going, oh, someone will kick off, but you're just even talking about this. You're like, all right, well, we'll just get past that. But that wasn't even the
Warwick Davis.
Warwick Davis.
Thank you, Ian.
Thank you, mate. And it cut back to the studio, and Ian Wright was in the studio wetting himself with laughter, and just went, I just love them little people. Like, that's the way, that was his reaction to it. If that happened now, there would be absolute murder. Do you know what I mean?
That's where we are.
But anyway,
I don't know what
like for me. That's
Mingle, what are you saying in the comments, lad? Like, loads of message retracted here, but then he's put get your teams in, read the fantasy football.
Oh, okay. So yeah, back to that before I melt down the internet with PC stuff. Yeah, so we're going to do a fantasy football league. I've already said I'm shit. I haven't done a fantasy football team for years because I just never get round to changing it, and it ends up being shit anyway. But who cares? We're both going to do.
Are you going to think of a funny name?
That's half the pressure, isn't it?
Inter Milan and all that.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't use that. But we can. So we're going to do it, aren't we?
Yeah, we're doing it now. It went from it. Well, it went
I
from.
I don't even know what Mingle running it means.
Well, he sent a message saying, like, saying, should we do it? And then I think our initial reaction was, fantasy footy, I'll do it for about 2-3 months and probably sack it off. And then it was like, then the more we talked about it, we were like, hang on, because we've talked, haven't we, about like, what we've got here and what we do here. Like, there's definitely like opportunity for there to be more of like a bit of a community around what we're doing.
Yeah,
because it's a lot of the same people that regularly watch. It's a lot of the same people that regularly comment. When we last did a producers show, sorry everyone for not doing one more recently. I was
thinking about that at the weekend because I was thinking about Mingle and I was thinking about Dylan, who is another top TLC,
yeah.
And he mentioned he would, because it came up on that, didn't he? A Telegram group,
yeah.
And he mentioned he'd run that for us, which takes us on to another point I wanted to make, and we'll jump around on this. So let us know. Well, do you know what? We've just decided we're doing the fantasy football. So if you want to do it and you want to get in, we're just running it free, just for a laugh, for anyone on YouTube, anyone listening on the podcast. There's a link and a code underneath this show, so you can go there. We might throw in some prizes during the year just for random stuff, but we're definitely gonna have every month for Patreon subscribers. Just as another little incentive to come and join us over there. For whoever's got the most points each month, we're gonna give them £100 prize. And the reason we're doing it that way is I always hated it when there's just like an end of season prize, and within about 2 weeks, you've got no chance of winning that prize because someone's well better than you. So at least each month you've got a brand new chance to win £100, but you've got to be a Patreon subscriber at the start of each month.
Have you fully thought about the admin of this? Because we're saying like Mingle's set up the league already.
Mingle is
he set up
volunteered
the league.
To be the.
No, he did, but what he didn't volunteer to do is, like, this £100 that we're saying you've got to be a subscriber.
Tough.
We therefore need an email or something that we can verify against the list of people who subscribe to see that they're a subscriber, don't we?
Yeah, that bit's all right. That bit's easy.
Reckon?
Yeah, you've just got to prove to us you're a subscriber.
But what about if you look at like the month? What about loads of people sign up? You look at that monthly league, and like the top 50 all aren't subscribers.
Because it's points in that month.
Yeah, I don't know. But you're just saying it's open to everyone though.
Yeah, so everyone can play.
Yeah.
But it's only the only people who can win that prize are subscribers.
So how do we know?
What do you mean?
So how do we know when we look at the
two middle-aged men who are tired to have it like talking to the wind? Go on,
so how do we know when we look at the monthly list? Like, it's who's got? How do we know that they're a subscriber or someone's just signed up for free and playing? Because you just said we're sharing it on this show, so therefore anyone can sign up to it.
Yeah, but so anyone can play. Everyone will be in the league. This is one of those conversations where if you're having it at home, you'd be like, am I talking in Chinese? Everyone can play in the league. But so like every month, right, someone's going to be the highest point scorer, aren't they, just for that 1 month? And if that person is also a Patreon subscriber in that month, they get £100.
I know, yeah.
So, yeah, what bit don't you get?
So how will we know and they, you know what I mean? How will we know and they know that they're the highest that month?
Oh, well, that's the admin bit.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm guessing. Yeah, so I'm just putting this on Mingle without even asking him.
But we can't ask him to work out who the highest subscriber is each month.
So
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I'm guessing. And I do this a lot, in fairness. I did this with Patreon a lot. Like, I remember at the start of the Patreon, it said to you, oh, good idea, let's give away a free month. Just assuming Patreon could do a free month, and then found out Patreon doesn't do that. And you're like, why the fuck wouldn't you have that in your system when you're this huge company? And it's like, well, it's irrelevant, isn't it? They don't do it. So then I had to pay for the person's subscription. Out my own dough.
So people are saying it does sound like an offline chat, this.
Yeah. We're doing but also doing online admin.
See the stuff as possibly come up with a solution so we can shut up now. Said just have the players make a comment in the Patreon chat, which is limited to subscribers. So we could put a post up in Patreon each month and say, do you know, are you the highest? And then they could do that admin themselves. Yeah, and then we'll check then we'll check the admin.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean.
Like bingo, putting your hand up and saying house, and then the fella goes, okay, let's do the admin. Yeah,
it was you. Yeah, okay.
We'll do it.
You have to claim it.
It's right. We'll find a way anyway, won't we?
Yeah, there's always a way.
We'll find a way
around everything. So
and then we can talk shite about it as well.
It's like cricket. If you don't claim it, you can't win it.
We can be like, lad. Someone else, Michael Bennett says he's going to call his team Land of Cope and Glory.
Nice.
Yeah, see what he's done there.
I like that.
I used to call my
team at first.
I used to call my team. Like, I feel like I can't call them. I'm gonna have to come up with something new. It's years since I've done it. I used to call my, and this is some way of explaining maybe. But then I'm on record, Arne, as being immature. What
a lie to say. That ties into you. We'll never work again, doesn't it? I'm on record of saying I'm immature. Would you say, Mr. Roberts, for the purpose of this job, you're immature or mature? Go on. Sorry.
I used to call my teams Robocop with a K.
Brilliant.
That's
a double whammy, isn't it?
Says about that. Yeah, I might come up with something new, I think, this time around.
Yeah, the pressure of coming up with a witty yet interesting name.
See, I told you we'd have no problem filling this show. Like,
that's why I said when I.
Where are we? Got 54 minutes. We've been waffling on.
I know, and we haven't got into the other stuff yet. But on the rest of the admin thing, which ties into the Telegram group. So tell us on that actually, if you would like what?
More admin now, you see.
What?
So Grim Sleeper, it says, and they'd have to be a subscriber at the start of the month. No subscribe in week 3, just because you're 100 points clear.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, I said that. I did say that, yeah.
Okay.
Just to be clear.
We'll have to like draw up rules here. And Mingle can't do and rules. He's got a job.
Fucking hell, do you remember the algorithm he came up with?
It's good, that, wasn't it? Yeah,
he'd be better doing the rules than me.
And all of this when he's in the beer garden after work.
I know, I know. You've got to qualify for the prize on Patreon. We'll come up with some bullet point rules, but to qualify for the prize on Patreon, you have to be a subscriber for the full month that you're in it. For the full month of the fantasy football round. On the admin, so if you think that being in a Telegram TLC group would be something you'd be interested in, of like, a private group where you can chat to other TLC fans and discuss things, let us know. But that ties into the admin. I wanted to mention here, I meant to mention it a couple of weeks ago, that we get lots of emails and lots of messages. And I want you to know, and we both want you to know, that us not getting around to replying to you all or mentioning you on here does not mean we're ignoring you or we don't value your messages, because we do read them all. I actually have reminders in my phone right now to reply to a few messages from about 2 months ago that I still haven't done because life gets in the way. You know the score by now. The two of us are doing this whilst trying to work in other things. So sadly, we might intend to reply to you, and then life gets in the way and we don't. So please don't let that put you off getting in touch. We do still read everything. I did say to Robert before, we could have a free content show one day when we don't need to do an agenda where we just read out your emails and reply to them on air.
Shit marketing though. Not sure about that, love.
Yeah. I think so, babe. Not your best idea, that, babe. I'd think
needs a bit of work.
Yeah, just sleep on that one. Sleep on that one. I don't want to waste any of the
more great marketing.
Yeah, more great. But I don't want to start.
Just looking to wrap this up now because there's a good bit coming up. I might want to put that in Patreon.
Yeah, we're going to put that in Patreon and encourage you to come over there. Well, I was going to ask you before actually about your walk, because you've got your walk coming up, haven't you? So
yeah.
How did your prep go? Well, where are you up to with prep? Because have you done the last of your hills?
No, looking to do some. Well, I'm saying some because I'm thinking I'm wondering whether I can fit something in one night this week, as well as something at the weekend. But there'll definitely be something at the weekend. But I'm feeling all right about it. I think we'll be all right. I think, like I was saying to one of my mates, that I feel like we've massively overthought it, and like I just think we'll be all right. It is obviously going to be a challenge, not under any illusions there, but I think the prep we've done is half decent. I think we'll probably do. I was saying I think we should do Pendle Hill again at the weekend, because Hill sounds like it's easy, but it's not that easy. And and it's sort of more mountain than hill really. And also we did that a good while back, and like I think in my head I'll be able to benchmark where I was at then and now by doing it again, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So thinking of doing that. But yeah, at the weekend we did there was someone who emailed in, and I actually took his advice on the boots actually, so thanks for that. I think his name was Peter. So Peter, if I got your name right, which I often don't, thank you for your advice. But he was sort of offering up some concerns that, like, you know, we weren't doing enough altitude, or not altitude, sort of incline. And so we completely ignored that advice again at the weekend. But it's more like, you know, it's hard to constantly go off to like the middle of Wales or the Lake District or beyond with the rest of life again, like we always talk about. So at the weekend, just got some miles in, basically. So I just went over to the Wirral. We just went over to the Wirral and we just did the Wirral way, 12.5 miles or whatever it was, from West Kirby to Hooton. But we kept a good pace, which I would say was pretty good. And then, yeah, going to get some incline in, hopefully in the week and definitely at the weekend. And then the following week, well, we're just doing it then, do you know what I mean? And we're not against the clock or anything like that. Plan is we drive there on the Friday, because it takes ages to drive there because it's, you know, in Scotland and that. Stay Friday night, get up early Saturday, not smashing ale or anything like that Friday night because we've made that mistake before. Get up early Saturday morning, get cracking at it, like sort of hopefully 7:30, say, something like that, and see how we get on. Hopefully the weather's kind to us, because that can be an issue. And yeah, hopefully we get it done. Me and the most keen, I would say, out of the people who are doing it, we're already talking about what's next. But obviously we have got to get this out the way. But it's like, you know, do we then go and do Scarfell Pike? Because then at least we will have done the 3 peaks. Do we then go and do... I've been looking at what the highest mountain is in Ireland. I'd never heard of it and I can't pronounce it. And it's in Kerry, I think, County Kerry. So I'm looking at doing that. So if we've got any listeners, watchers who've done that one, you don't need to pronounce it, but do tell me what it was like, because I'm interested. Someone in work today said they'd done Scarfell Pike, and if they can, I can. That's the kind of stuff I like. So yeah. And then we're also looking at doing, I mentioned it the other week, eventually, quite like to do Hadrian's Wall as well. And someone emailed in the other week saying they'd done it actually, and that it was good, but that I needed to pack light, because by day 3 or whatever, your rucksack starts to do your head and things like that. But now I'm into it, like, and I think it's like really good to have a focus, really good to have a goal, really good to get out with your mates, walk and talk and all that kind of stuff. I genuinely can feel the benefit of it. I can see it in my mates as well. You know what I mean? Like, we all have our ups and downs. We all have our problems in life. If you don't have ups and downs and you'd have no problems, I reckon you're in the minus, less than 1%. Try and do, so my advice, if you want to listen to it, is just try and do stuff like that. I honestly think it's really good for you. And, the more, the naughty, the devil on my shoulder also says that if you set up something like that with your mates, male or female, as in you can be a male or female and do it with your mates, it's a good excuse, I reckon, with your partner. Do you know what I mean? To say, I'm banging into that now, and we're doing this, we're doing that, and we've got that coming up. You know what I mean? And allow them, the same the other side. But what I'm saying is, like, you can get into like sort of circles, ruts, you know what I mean? Where you like do the same thing, you're doing each other's head and whatever. Doing something like this, I think, is a decent thing where you can say to your partner, like, me and the lads, me and the girls, we're going to do this, we've got this aim, we've got this goal. Yeah. You understand that, don't you? We're going to have to do a bit of training and get fit. Yeah. Would appreciate your support if you want to do something similar. So,
yeah, I like that. Yeah, I think that's right, and I think it's healthy, and it's completely different, isn't it, to back in the day, saying I'm going for a weekend away in Magaluf as the equivalent. That's not quite the same thing, is it? Whereas, as you say, doing something that's good and healthy, I think that's good for everyone.
Yeah, and as ever, we're getting some stuff in the comments, which is useful. So I'm told, should we have a go? Greg Bradley says, highest mountain in Ireland, how you pronounce it, is, get ready for me to butcher it, Caran 2-0. So I'll go with that. Thanks, Greg. And someone saying
what is he written it out phonetically for you?
Yeah. I think someone's saying that Scarfell Pike is boring, or are they saying Ben Nevis is boring? Either way, I just want to tick these things off now. Like someone else was saying, Scarfell Pike's boring and not particularly satisfying. I was like, but if I've done Ben Nevis,
you might as well do it.
I might as well do it, and then basically say I've conquered the UK. Do you know what I mean?
Conquered the UK. Okay, now.
Well, like I'm like this with the Whittle now. This is the way my head works now. So like we did the other, a few weeks ago we did West Kirby to New Brighton. Yesterday we did West Kirby to Hooton. The two of them together are like 25 miles or thereabouts. So you virtually walk around like the majority of the Whittle there. Mm. So now I'm saying to the lads, and another one we can just put on the list is, let's walk around the whole of the Whittle. It's about 30, 35 miles, I think. So I'm saying doable in a day. Mm. And most of it, you can do most of the coast, basically. And it's a good walk, and it's nice and all that. And I was like, so let's get that on there. And doesn't require shitloads of planning or anything like that, does it? You just get the train over to the Whittle and do it. And don't you think in the modern day, the $5.95 for an all zones train ticket is still quite good value? No, honestly, I was saying this yesterday because I was like, all the things we now say, why the fuck is that there?
That's a good point.
Why the fuck is that there? And don't watch Mr. Merseyrail and now put this up. But like, honestly, like $5.95 and you can go anywhere for all day, as many times as you want.
If you use it like that, yeah.
I think it's decent.
Yeah, it's really good, yeah. Yeah. I don't think we've done that on here yet, have we?
What, something
middle-aged praise?
Something that we're actually happy with, yeah. Not a middle-aged moan.
Because we do actually have middle-aged moans to talk about on the Patreon show.
Apparently got the pronunciation right as well.
Yeah, I've just looked it up. That looks about right, yeah. It's good, that. It's funny because as you're talking, my brain's doing the, why don't you do the walk with Robbo? It's like, fucking hell. I wouldn't even be able to do the flat walk round the Whittle right now, but I'm back in the gym, so I'm training. So maybe at some point.
Yeah,
but you mentioned in the past as well, like getting a TLC crew, didn't you?
Yeah, about whether we could like do a bit of a TLC walk or something at some point. Yeah, I'd be up for that. People are going all about all kinds now in the comments. Remember Zonies and all that, and County Donegal is beautiful. Says someone else. That's what I wanted to say. Someone in the comments before caught me eye, and I thought I'd mention that because I think he might have emailed or DM'd as well. So thanks, mate. This is very kind that you repeatedly are saying this. There's a lad that reckons, because the hearing thing, and it got mad numbers on TikTok. I've been saying for years, I want to go one time. I'd love to go to Croke Park. People tell me that tickets are like rocking or shit and all the rest of it. There's a lad that's messaged a couple of times and he's in the comments. I think it's the same lad just saying, I think I might be able to sort that if you're a fancier. So if you could, mate, that'd be amazing.
Well, I meant to say, we'll do this and then wrap up because we're well over time now. But a client of mine, I think he might have put the idea of hailing in your head with a message he said, Anthony, and sound lad, and he said, he was giving me some advice when I spoke to him last week because he'd watched us, and he said that I'll probably butcher this, but when you're talking about getting is it an all-Ireland final ticket, he said they're like gold dust, but actually hurling is mainly like there's 4 regions of Ireland. It's mainly Munster. So if you get a ticket for the final in Munster, they're easier to get. And actually, that's a big game anyway. So it could be worth looking at.
Yeah, someone else was saying like the semis, like are easy enough to go to as opposed to the final as well.
But he also said, and I saw some people in the YouTube comments last week mentioning this, that like, whenever we praise anything, because we say, oh, it's better than footy, he's like, yeah, but as with anything else in life, people behind this, hurling fans think it's all corrupt and it's all everyone's backhanded.
I had that, didn't I? I mentioned rugby league, didn't I, last week?
Yeah, and someone was saying,
someone said about that. Yeah, like what you said there and about it being run well and all that. It's fucking not, because of X, Y, Z, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I was like, oh, okay, sound. But that's another thing. Like, like I'd love to do, and I don't think I've had so many ideas this last week about what me and you could do or what we could do on this show, and like they're beyond what we normally do, and I just literally can't get my brain to shut up about it. Like honestly, like I've got all these books and everything that I just keep writing stuff in. I've got about 6 notebooks on the go, and it won't stop. And I don't think we'll ever do half of the things. But one of the things I put down was almost like we dream up like a bucket list. Do you know what I mean? And then do them and film them and talk about them.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I reckon it'd be Buster. But we're probably not going to do that unless, you know, some production company parachutes in, gives us a load of dough and says, do you want to do that, lads?
Hey, some production company.
Or whatever.
I think we've said this before. I think we'd have a Boss TV show doing that. One of them like going out and doing things. And
well, like I've literally never been to a rugby league match. Have you?
No.
So there you go. So we'd be going for the first time, like lifelong footy fans going to rugby league and experiencing it for the first time. I reckon there would be mad shouts that you'd buzz off. We're literally like got to familiarise ourselves with the game again. I think I roughly know how it works. Like, but I messaged someone about rugby league, funnily enough, in the week because I said last week, didn't I? I'm doing a story on a lad who plays for St. Helens. And I messaged someone who goes, I don't think it's a secret, Steve Armstrong, who I've mentioned on here a few times. So lifelong Man United fan, went home and away for years, went to all the games in Europe, all the pre-season games, absolutely everything, wrote for the fanzine, sacked it all off. And now he goes and watches the rugby. And I said, you still going to watch the rugby? Have you watched this lad? Etc. etc. And he's like, mate, it was like St. Helens away at Wigan. And he said, like, took 4,000, stood up all game, had a bevy, not a copper in sight, no trouble, great game, cheap in comparison to football. He said, absolute belter. And I was like, sounds all right, that. Sounds all right, that, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, well, we've gone well over. So
I'm sorry, everyone.
That's a little shout out for anyone out there who's, if there's someone secretly sitting out there with a TV production company that wants to film me and Robbo going around the bucket list, maybe we'll talk about the bucket list on the next show. Come over and join us. We're going to be talking about some middle-aged moans, some Roy Keane funny bits that I saw in the week, some mental health moments that a lot of you like, some kids stuff, maybe a bit of Olympic stuff. As always, if you want to come over there, you can come for free. It's 7-day free trial. Again, there's links underneath this show if you want to join us. If not, if you like this, like it, press the like button on YouTube, share it with friends, tell people about it, help us grow it. We are still growing slowly and gradually. And the footy season's starting soon, so who knows what'll happen then. But that's it. Thank you for your support. As always, good to see you. We'll see you next week.
Love you.